Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Academic and Professional English 1. The topic of today's lesson is what is a paragraph? I'm Barney Battista.
And I am Rob Ouwehand. We are here to talk through a short PowerPoint presentation about paragraphs, what they are, and some of the things you need to know about writing them. This presentation was originally created by Mr. Rowan Willis, a professor here at Sungshil from a few years ago, but it gives you everything you need.
So let's get started.
First of all, Barney, what is a paragraph?
Well, a paragraph is a group of sentences all pertaining to a single topic or to a single idea.
That's right. Here at university, you are expected to do academic work to develop more complex ideas than you have developed in high school. And as your ideas get more complex, you need bigger units to explain them. Now, a sentence is a group of words.
Right. And a paragraph is a group of sentences. And you'll notice the words that we have outlined in red. Paragraph is a group of sentences that tells about one idea. The important thing here is not to go into many ideas within a single paragraph. If you have a new idea.
This is a common challenge that a lot of writers have, is once I start writing, I get so many ideas. But it's really important to make sure that your writing stays focused, or it's hard for readers to understand.
Right. So the general good rule of thumb is if you have more than one idea, you should have more than one paragraph.
That's right. Now, every sentence in a paragraph must give information about that one idea, that one topic.
Right. You want to always be careful not to include sentences which may be interesting, they may be informative, but they do not necessarily pertain to the topic of that paragraph.
Which is a fancy way of saying they don't fit the idea of the paragraph.
Correct.
If you have ideas that don't fit your paragraph, it's a good idea to write more than one paragraph. But when you are writing a paragraph, it's an important practice and it's a useful habit to get good at keeping your writing focused on that one idea.
Right. And the last thing I'd say about this is we often have the misunderstanding that more content or more material is better, but in the case of sentences and paragraphs, it helps to think less is more. Take away anything that does not pertain to your topic. Try and keep your sentences and your paragraphs lean and mean.
Now, Barney?
Yes, sir.
Is writing easy for you?
Absolutely not.
It's not easy for me either. Do you consider yourself a good writer?
I don't think I'm a bad writer, but I don't think I'm a great writer either. It begs the question, what makes writing challenging? Why is writing hard?
And an interesting thing I've found is even when I talk to people who, in my opinion, are really excellent writers, even those people, sometimes they find it harder to write well than anybody else. And the reason they're an excellent writer is not because it comes easy to them. It's because they spend more time, and they put more work into it, and we see that work in the result.
Right. So before we go on, we'd like, in just a moment, you'll pause this video and take a moment and write down 2 or 3 reasons for you that writing is challenging.
Your instructor might give you different instructions about what to do with this writing. So please pay attention to that. You might have to hand this in at some time. You might be asked to make this into a comment in a chat room. There are different things your professors might ask you to do with this, but we want everybody to take a minute and think about what makes writing hard for you. So here we're going to give you 1 minute. Your professor might ask you to take more time than that, but let's do it. Okay.
So, here are some things that in the past students have said make writing challenging. See if these agree with you.
And I'll be honest, almost all of these are part of my experience too. These are not unique problems to second language English users. These are challenging for anybody who's writing in any language.
So let's look at example number 1. I'm worried about grammar.
This is one that I relate to because when you write, when I speak, if I make a mistake, my words are out and they're gone.
Yep, nobody needs to remember, nobody needs to know.
Unless you have a recording device, nobody knows the mistakes I make when I'm speaking, which means I don't have to worry as much. But when I write, my mistakes are there forever.
That's absolutely right.
That means I feel a lot more pressure when I'm writing to make my grammar correct. I worry about my mistakes. And if I find a mistake later, I think about it and think about it.
Yeah. So, grammar is always one. Let's look at the next example.
Sometimes I just don't know what to write.
Yeah, sometimes I just draw a blank.
It's hard to think of ideas. And sometimes looking at an empty page or an empty computer screen, it's just, it feels impossible to fill it up.
True story. And next, I think it's difficult to explain.
I have a lot of ideas in my head that are really cool in my head.
Sure.
And I understand what they mean in my head, but I don't know how to put them into words.
Right. Getting my ideas broken down from a few big ideas into several small ideas that I can convey to a reader. That's very difficult work.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a lot of work, and sometimes there are unexpected challenges when I try to put something into words, as cool as it might have sounded in my head.
Right. So the good news is, if you find writing challenging, that means you are normal.
Everybody experiences these problems, and one of the benefits of taking this class is that we're going to get practice getting those ideas into words, and learning that skill is something that will help you through your whole life.
Absolutely. Let's take a look.
The last problem,
Oh, sorry.
there's one more, and this is one that anybody who has tried to write in a second language experiences.
It's hard to write in Korean, or it's hard to write in my mother tongue. It's even harder to write in English. Rob, did you ever take the TOPIK test? Korean?
I have taken a number of Korean classes, and getting my ideas into a language that I wasn't raised speaking is way harder than getting my ideas out in English.
Yep. For me, my TOPIK writing score was 30 points lower than my listening and my grammar scores. 30 points out of what? A couple hundred. So yeah, it's very hard to write even in our mother tongue. Writing in a second language is exponentially more difficult.
Well, these are some of the challenges that a lot of people experience with writing. And as Barney said earlier, this is okay. This is normal. There are not many people who get excited when somebody says it's time to write. If you are one of them, that's great. Excellent. And we're glad to hear that. But if you're not, don't worry. You're not alone. And your professor understands that too.
Yes, they do.
So let's talk about writing, and let's talk about paragraphs. There are a few things that a good paragraph needs.
Right. And the first one, which we've already discussed somewhat, is one main idea.
That one main idea is usually expressed in the second part of a good paragraph, the topic sentence.
Right. Now, we can't just have the topic sentence sitting out there by itself. If you look at item number 3, topic sentence is followed by 5 to 7 supporting sentences.
That number might change depending on the type of idea you're trying to explain and how good you are at connecting ideas together, as well as how long your sentences are. But every topic sentence needs more sentences to fill out the idea, to explain it or support it or make clear what you're trying to say in that topic sentence.
That's correct. And after you've laid down your supporting sentences, item number 4 is a closing sentence. You don't want to leave your reader just hanging there. You want to wrap up what you've written. And the purpose of item number 4, the closing sentence, is to do just that, to wrap up what you've written.
Number 5, indent, spelling, and punctuation. It's important to remember that writing has rules, and following those rules helps you to write clearly, and it also helps your reader to understand what you've written as well as they possibly can. And following the rules of correct writing will help your reader, and it will also help you. It gives you some guidelines. So an indent is part of academic writing. Spelling and punctuation are parts of quality writing, and you will be practicing that in this class. Don't forget supporting details.
Absolutely not.
Now, Barney, do you like hamburgers?
I have to say, I hate to seem like an ordinary American, but I do like hamburgers.
Now, writing is like a hamburger. And as this creepy clown will tell you, hamburgers are great. So let's explain what we mean by that.
Hamburger has to have a top bun, yeah?
Now, what we're talking about here, if you're using the Unlock books, you can look on page 31 for more about this. Your professor might ask you to do that later, but that's where you can find it in our textbook. Barney, have you ever tried to eat a hamburger without a bun?
That's just crazy talk, Rob.
What would happen if you did?
I would probably get hamburger on my upper lip. It'd be pretty messy.
It would be you'd have a mess on your plate.
Absolutely.
You'd have a mess all around your mouth, and your fingers would be absolutely messy.
Absolutely.
The top bun of a hamburger helps to keep that mess under control. The topic sentence is like the top bun of a hamburger.
What a good analogy.
So what is a topic sentence?
Well, for starters, the topic sentence is going to be the first sentence of your paragraph. That's easy enough.
The topic sentence should always be indented.
Right. Now, we'll see an example of indentation in a moment, but if you need to take a second and pause the video to look up what indented means, that's fine. I'll just tell you it means being about 5 spaces over to the right.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, writing has rules. This is one of them. A paragraph should always begin with an indent. Finally, the topic sentence should tell what your paragraph is going to be about. We said at the beginning, a paragraph is about one main idea, and this is the sentence that tells that main idea to your readers.
Right. So if we take a look at this paragraph here, which begins with the topic sentence, there are many reasons why I enjoy teaching.
Now, notice also, this space is what we mean by the indent. The beginning of a new paragraph does not start on the left side of the page where your other lines begin.
That's correct. So if we're looking at the content, this first sentence here is telling my reader what I will be talking about. There are many reasons why I enjoy teaching, right? I'm expressing my main idea here.
Every sentence in this paragraph should fit with this topic sentence.
So let's see if the following sentences pass that test.
We'll do that as we go through. Here's something to remember. In this class, we're going to tell you to put your topic sentence first. When you go out and read other people's writing, you might find that there are some paragraphs where the topic sentence isn't first.
That is true.
This is because once you have mastered the basics, you can bend the rules. Until you are a master writer, putting your topic sentence first is a good idea because that's where your reader will look.
Yep, let's keep it simple.
Keep it simple and worry about bending the rules once you are a master of following the rules. So after the topic sentence, we have
first set of details.
Now, again, supporting details are in the Unlock book on page 53 if you're using it. If you're using a different book because you're not in the Academic and Professional English 1 class, then your professor will fill you in.
Correct.
The first detail is like the lettuce on the hamburger.
I do like the lettuce. It will follow directly after the topic sentence.
Now, for a lot of writers, they choose to put the least important detail first. And there are a few different ideas about where it should go. Some people put the most important idea first. Some people put the least important one first. Whichever one you choose, you should have a reason for it. So let's read this one.
First of all, I enjoy teaching because teachers have long vacations. Teachers do not need to work during summer and winter breaks.
Now, one thing that we'll notice is this fits the topic sentence. The topic sentence was reasons I enjoy teaching, and this supporting sentence is a reason I enjoy teaching.
That's correct.
So, another thing that you'll notice is the first sentence here summarizes the supporting idea, and the second sentence gives more detail or further explanation.
That's correct, right? The first sentence is sort of general, long vacations. But what do they mean by that? Well, specifically, summer break, winter break, right? They're speaking very concretely here.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it, is to introduce an idea and then follow that with explanation. Again, introducing an idea and then explaining it helps your reader to follow your thinking. So, the next detail is like the tomato.
It needs to follow directly after the lettuce, after the first detail.
And it should not be the most important reason or detail. Now, one thing that you'll notice, and this is a common mistake students make, is some people put a new sentence here on the left side. But every new sentence follows after the end of the sentence before it.
Right.
This is where a new sentence should begin. So when you have a sentence break, just keep going on the same line. Do not go to a new line until you're starting a new paragraph and you have an indent also. So let's read the second detail.
Another reason I love teaching is that it makes me happy when I see the improvement in my students. It is rewarding to see a student understand something new.
Now, I would say this reason is more important than the first reason. Vacation is nice, but it's kind of a shallow reason.
That's true.
The satisfaction of seeing students improve, the reward, that's a more important reason for enjoying teaching. So this writer has organized their supporting details from least important to most important. And it's always a good idea to have an idea of how you're organizing your details.
True story.
It is rewarding to see a student understand something new, explains the makes me happy when I see the improvement.
Again, this second detail sentence is a little bit more concrete. It's a little bit more specific than the first detail sentence, which just introduced the idea of happy when I see the improvement.
It's also a good idea to have a little more than just one sentence of your supporting idea. If you can only think of one sentence of idea, that idea is pretty thin. So make sure that you have enough ideas. When I read writing that gives a lot of ideas without much explanation, it seems like the student didn't think about the topic very much. And go a little deeper. Always try to go a little deeper. The final part, the final supporting detail, is the last one.
The meat.
The meat. This is my favorite part of a good burger.
Sure.
And if we are following the pattern of least important to most important, here is the most important detail.
That's right. A hamburger without meat is just a lettuce sandwich.
That's right. This, again, needs to follow directly after the tomato, directly after the sentence before it. So we're not starting on a new line, even though it's the most important idea.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and read you this last detail here. Finally, I like to teach because I can always learn from my students. My students make me a better teacher.
Okay, so this is more important than the vacations. It's more important than the satisfaction of seeing students improve. This is giving meaning to teaching for the writer. And again, it gives an idea and it explains it in the second sentence.
That's right. The last thing I might point out on these details here is if you notice the first detail, the writer has prefaced it with first of all. When they got to the second detail, another reason. And last, finally. You'll notice that the writer has introduced each of these details with transition language that makes it easy for the reader to see that the writer is introducing new ideas.
That's right. Words and phrases like first, next, finally, also, on the other hand, are all ways that we connect ideas with each other. And good writing uses them because it helps readers to see how your ideas connect. It helps you to think about how your ideas connect. And it makes your writing smoother to read, which makes your writing beautiful.
True story.
Now, the final thing that we need in a good academic paragraph is the bottom bun.
That's right. The bottom bun or a closing sentence. And again, if you're taking the regular academic and professional English 1 course and using the Unlock 3 textbook, the closing sentence is discussed more on page 76.
Yes, if you're using a different book, again, your professor will give you guidance. But Barney, have you ever tried to eat a hamburger with no bottom bun?
Even on my worst days, I have never tried to eat a hamburger with no bottom bun. That's just crazy talk.
Well, once again, just like a hamburger with no top bun, a hamburger with no bottom bun is a mess. And it'll end up a big ketchupy pile on your plate. The top bun controls the parts of your hamburger and keeps them where they belong. And in the same way, a topic sentence controls the ideas of your paragraph and keeps your ideas focused. The closing sentence...
The closing sentence tucks all of your ideas in. It concludes the sentence for your reader the same way the bottom bun of a hamburger keeps the meat and the lettuce from falling onto your white dress shirt.
Yes, and that makes it easier for, just like a hamburger is easier to hold, it makes it easier for your audience to hold your idea in their mind when you've introduced it with a clear topic sentence and finished it with a clear closing sentence. The closing sentence is the last sentence of your paragraph.
Mm-hmm. Needs to summarize the topic. And it should look like your topic sentence.
One way to write a closing sentence is to state your topic sentence again in different words. Let's look at these two. There are many reasons why I enjoy teaching. These are just a few reasons I like to teach. These are almost a mirror image of each other.
They are, and I would say that if you're under time constraints or if you're really struggling to write a closing sentence, a lot of the times I will temporarily just write my introductory sentence again at the bottom and go back and fix it in editing.
Yes. Now, once again, this sentence is right after the sentence before. It does not start on a new line. Again, it fits the ideas of the supporting sentences, and like I said before, it's almost a mirror image of the topic sentence. This is a good way to close a paragraph.
That's true.
So thank you, everyone, for listening to our short presentation about writing a paragraph. I'm sure that a lot of you have studied paragraphs before, and in high school, I'm sure a lot of you have written many, many paragraphs. So if this is stuff that you've heard before, then during this semester, we want you to focus on making your paragraphs better. Focus on trying to write a perfect paragraph.
Just like a perfect hamburger, it's simple but difficult. A perfect paragraph also. It's simple but not easy.
Yes. And if this is new to you, then you have lots of things to practice and study. And there's something really satisfying about learning how to communicate your ideas in a way that is clearer and easier for your audience to understand. And Barney and I both hope that you will experience that satisfying feeling during this semester.
Thanks for studying with us today. We will see you at the next lesson.